Music has a way of invoking emotions and memory and is an essential aspect of video game design. The right score can get your adrenaline pumping when fighting a boss, collecting items littered throughout the world, and even staring at your watch while paused. Ivor, Novello, and World Soundtrack Awards winning, BAFTA nominated composer Grant Kirkhope knows a thing or two about music, and most likely doesn't need an introduction here, with an impressive resume featuring video game titles such as Perfect Dark, Banjo Kazooie, Viva Pinata, Kingdoms of Amalur, World of Warcraft, Mario and Rabbids, the DK Rap, Goldeneye, and many, many more. Grant has also spanned into Hollywood scoring movies like The Handler, The Charisma Killers, and The King's Daughter, starring Pierce Brosnan. I was fortunate enough to have a chat with Grant about falling into video game composing, Hollywood, and some advice for young composers looking to start their career. Normally, this is a part of the video where I'd ask you to like and subscribe, but instead I wanted to talk about Movember. What's It Like is throwing its support behind my good friend Archie, who is leading the charge for Movember, which aims to take on mental health issues, suicide, prostate cancer, and testicular cancer. If you would like to know more or want to donate to his campaign, click on the card that's just popped up on your video. Now, let's get back to it. First things first, I read in the Scotland Sun that you actually fell into your career in video game composition and that you actually toured with Van Halen and Bon Jovi.
I did.
You did?
That's all true.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I fell into it, but yeah, like I played in rock bands. I went to university, right, did a music degree. And I'm a classically trained trumpet player. I'm a kind of self-taught metal guitar player from like the age of 12, trumpet from about 6. So I did the kind of, proper education path. But I didn't really want to be a trumpet player. I wanted to be in a metal band, really. That's all I wanted to do. So after leaving university, I spent about 11 years playing in different bands, like from the age of 22 to 33. Some did well, some did crap. So like I'd been a couple of my own metal bands that own indie releases. I'd played in a soul funk band called Zoot and the Roots for quite a long time. That was kind of a proper working band that did like 3-4 gigs a week all over the place, all over Europe, universities, that kind of stuff. Quite a big band, Zoot and the Roots were in the day. And then some of my friends of mine called Little Angels, who were like a UK rock band, decided to want the horn section. So I had long hair, so I kind of fitted the bill, and they were friends, So me and my friend became the horn section of Little Angels, and they became quite a big rock band in the UK. They were like their number one album there. They sold quite a lot of records and did pretty well. And we ended up, apart from the own headline tours in the UK, of about 2,000 seaters, we ended up being the opening act for Bon Jovi on a 6-week European tour around the stadium. It was like 90,000 seat arenas, which was quite incredible. It was awesome. Billy Idol and Bon Jovi, which was great fun. We also did the Van Halen tour, same thing, 6 weeks around Europe. ZZ Top, Bryan Adams. We did Bryan Adams when he had the big hit with the Robin Hood song that was like 60 weeks number one in the UK. We did football stadiums with him. So we played Wembley Stadium in the UK, the old Wembley Stadium. So those kind of giant things. Then it all kind of fell to bits like bands do after a while. And I was like 32 probably, I think. No, it must have been 33. I'm 32, he's 32. And I just thought, I was back to playing pub rock really, with my, making £35 a night, playing cover versions in pubs, in North Yorkshire. One of my friends who played in one of the local bands that I played for, called Robin Beanland, he was a keyboard player, and he announced one day he'd got a job. Like no one that I knew got a job. Everyone that I knew signed on to unemployment benefit, on the dole most of the time, going on tour, playing in bands. That's what we did, right? So it's a bit of a novelty.
To the man.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit novelty. It's like, my God, he's got a job. How did he manage that? He said, I'm going to go work at Rare, writing music for computer games. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy, right? So he'd been there about a year and a half. He said to me, look, Grant, you're 33, you've been on unemployment for about 11 years, off and on, which I had. He said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't know. This is going to be it for me. I'm going to play in rock bands until I become a tramp, probably. And he said, well, why don't you try to do what I'm doing? Why don't you try writing music for video games? I thought, well, I might as well. I've got nothing else in my prospects in my life whatsoever. So he recommended a bit of gear, and I bought a keyboard and a copy of Cubase and bits and pieces, synthesizer. And I sat in my bedroom, still living home with my mother at 32. Over the course of 1994, I sat in my bedroom writing music that I thought was a video game appropriate because I played a lot of games at the time, and
Yep.
sent Rare 5 cassette tapes over the course of that year, and then got no reply, and out of the blue got a letter saying please come for an interview, and Dave Wise interviewed me. And would you believe it? I got the job. So no one was more surprised than I was. And so it
I,
was a complete fluke. If Robin hadn't suggested it, I would never have done it.
I think it's pretty crazy looking back because you're quite revered in the video game community, and your entire career just started because might as well. But
Yeah, if Robin had said to me, "Why don't you try it?" I would never have entertained it. I was useless when I was at university doing the music degree. I was terrible at harmony. I failed the exam 3 years out of four, and only just scraped by in the last year by the skin of my teeth. So how on earth I never once thought about being a composer, not once. But I wrote songs for the metal bands I played for, but I don't know how I do it sometimes because, as I say, I was absolutely terrible at harmony. So how on earth I manage it, I really don't know.
so, so you were always a gamer though before you joined Rare. Like,
Right.
what sort
Yeah.
of what sort of games were you playing like back in the 90s?
So I got into the Game Boy, I guess, like when it first came out. So I did that, and then I got a Super NES, and I got I had the Mario game on the I forgot what it's called now, Mario World, is it? I forget. And
Yep.
then it came as a bundle with that, and then Zelda: Link to the Past.
Ah,
And so
yep.
I got that, and I never heard of Zelda. I thought, what's this game? And I played Mario. I thought, oh, well, I played that because I never heard of it. It looks like a daft title. And once I started playing it, I couldn't believe how absolutely fantastic it was. Like, I think Link to the Past is my favorite game of all time. I just think it's phenomenal.
Man
I
of
mean,
excellent taste.
yeah, not just
Yep.
the way it plays, but the music is fantastic too. Like those melodies are just absolutely fantastic. So that's so and I played a lot of Super NES games after that. Lots and lots. Like I guess most of them really. But I tried to go for the RPG, so I did your Secret of Mana and the Final Fantasy stuff and Shadowrun, which I thought was amazing on the Super NES. Like, not people played that. I thought it was a great game. So tons of games on the NES, and then I got the job at Rare and got an N64.
Yeah. And with Rare, your first project was the Donkey Kong Land 2 port for Game Boy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, from the game, yeah, from the
Yep.
Super NES to the game. Dave Wise's music from the Super NES to the Game Boy. That was
Yep.
hard at the start, but
Yep.
I enjoyed it in the end. But at the beginning, it was super hard. I didn't know what I was doing.
Was that because of technical limitations or just because it was like your first kind of project altogether?
Well, I was used to MIDI files and like Cubase and things, sequencers and all that. I mean, when Dave came to show me the Game Boy on the first day I was there, it was just a black screen with white writing on it, right? So like there was four numbers. The first two numbers were the note, the second two numbers were the length. So you had to write these great huge columns of numbers and create subroutines. And I'd never done it before. I was completely, bemused by it. And Dave was brilliant at it, and so he sort of showed me really quick. So there you go, and off he went, And I was like, oh my God. So I called Robin and said, Robin, I'm going to resign the first day. It's beyond me. I can't do it. He said, don't, this is stupid. Get Dave back tomorrow. Write down it step by step, as you go along. So I got Dave back the next day. I said, can you show me again, Dave? So like step one, press alt, whatever it was. Step two, I wrote on these 25 set of steps to get one note into whatever it was, into the
Wow.
machine. And then went from there. But at least when you get one note in, you can get more notes in, right? So in the Game Boy back then, only had three monophonic channels. So you had one note for the melody, one note to imply the harmony, and one note for the bass, and a noise channel, which was kind of lots of crazy noises that doubled as your kind of drum sounds and funny effects as well that would be count for the effects in the game. So it was all. So that was a little bit. But as I say, I enjoyed it in the end. But at the start, I just thought, my God, this can't be what I'm going to do. And Dave says, when he finished this, you're probably going to go into the Virtual Boy. You got six channels then. I was like, oh my God.
Oh wow.
That never came around in the end. But yeah, so that was that. It wasn't the best of starts.
And then after Donkey Kong, though, then you just jumped into Goldeneye. Is that right?
Yeah, so Graham Norgate, who was a composer there, he was doing Goldeneye and Ken Griffey Baseball on the Super NES, and he was doing Blast Corps. So the N64 was just kicking up as I got there. The dev kits were there. So he said, "Look, I'm really busy with Blast Corps and Ken Griffey Baseball. Can you take over doing Goldeneye?" And I was like, "Are you joking? I'd love to do that." So it was agreed that I did Game Boy in the morning. It was probably about November. So I started around October 95. I was agreed that I did Game Boy in the morning and Goldeneye in the afternoons. So that was how my day was split up.
Oh wow.
So yeah,
I know. I promise not to ask about the pause music, the watch music. I think you get asked about that in every interview.
that's
But
all right. I don't mind.
did you and Robin and Graham, did you even think that it would kind of reach the heights that it did, like Goldeneye, both in the game and the soundtrack? It's still often referred to as the greatest game of all time, certainly in my opinion. Huge fan. But did you ever see it going like that when you were working on it, or was it
No,
just
no,
another?
no, certainly not. No, and also the game was a mess. It was bug ridden right to the end, right? It was a big mess. It was supposed to come out the same time as a movie. I think it made it out nearly in time for the next movie. It was so. I remember we got went out to see the film in the next movie because they wanted us to do another game, right? We weren't going to do it, but they wanted us to do it. I mean, we were so far behind. Then at the end of it, just put, we're not going to fix any of these bugs. It's just going to have to go out the way it is. No one thought it would be anything. Thought it was going to be a disaster. Because most licensed games come out and are dreadful. Like not have that many licenses that follow a movie license do very well, right? So I guess I think the reason for it was that none of the team had made a game before, like none of us had. So we just did what we thought. Well, I should just do this and just do that. And there was no overlord looking over you thinking this is the way you're supposed to do it. And I think that's the reason it's good because with no one telling you what to do and no one knowing what they were doing, especially me, you just did what you thought was right and hope for the crossed your fingers, right? So there was nothing, I hadn't done a game like that before.
I,
So, you know,
I do remember reading that the multiplayer wasn't a planned thing. You guys just
no.
snuck it in, but
Wait, what? Well, the team suggested it, but Nintendo and Rare didn't want it. The management of Rare said, no, it's a daft idea. And so
okay.
they developed it and did it and then showed it off right at the end. And they're like, oh, this is quite good. So I feel like if that wasn't in the game, it would have been a very different story. But, GoldenEye's a funny game because a lot of games come out with a huge spike and then kind of die away. GoldenEye just went like that. It was a real slow grower. And it was crazy. The second year it sold more than the first year, and the third year sold more than the first 2 years put together.
Oh
Like
wow.
games never do that. Like it
No.
was just incredible,
I,
and like I don't think living in the UK, I don't think we kind of got the enormity of it until I moved to the US, and like it was a real college dorm game over here. College dorms where people were playing it, four people on the same screen. I mean, it's just the best fun with your friends, right? Getting drunk, having fights over it, all that stuff. So
yep.
I think we just had no idea that it was going to be like, no one thought anything of it. Thought it's just come out and flop and just get on with the next thing, just get rid of it. It's a bit of a mess.
That's crazy to hear. That's
I know.
that's kind of thrown me for six. Um, but from there, though, you've moved on to Banjo Kazooie,
Right.
and that's like I think that's probably one of your most famous pieces of work. Was it hard, like having such a shift in tone? So you've gone from this kind of brooding action game to this really bright and bubbly, collectathon platformer. Was that a hard thing to do, or is it just second nature for you?
Honestly, I don't think it was. I just think that, when you work somewhere like Rare, you're an in-house staff composer, right? So you start at 9 and finish at 5, like anybody who does a job. It's no different to any other job, right? So you just get used to getting on with it. I think there's not, I don't sit in a darkened room, wait for the hand of the Lord to hand me a song. It's not like that. I'm very workmanlike. I get on with it, right? The first chord, right? The first note, let's get on with it. And that's the way it was. You had no time to mess around. So you just get used to it. So um, it was just, and I knew what platform games sounded like because I'd played them. And I just thought, I need to write something that's jolly and platformy. But we were trying to beat Mario, of course, Mario 64, which is, an amazing game. I mean, and I knew there was no point me trying to write that poppy jazz that Koji Kondo writes because I just can't, I'm hopeless at it, right? I'm no good at it. So I had to try and write something that I could write. So I just fell upon that tritony umpari thing, that Banjo Kazooie is, not really thinking much more about it than that. And I kind of stolen it from Danny Elfman in Beetlejuice, really, anyway. So I just thought, oh, this sounds quite jolly and quirky, and it's a bit different. It's not sweet. I feel like Banjo's not hasn't got kind of sweet music. It's got kind of quirky, oddball, off the cuff music, really, crank kooky, whatever you want to call it. So and I felt like it suited the characters really well. So that it just so I started off. I found that maybe halfway through the game, and I went back and rewrote some of the early level tunes to match the crazy thing that I'd found. That by accident, really, and then it just became that. And you don't think that anybody's going to care about it 25 years later, more like 25 days later. Like games go fast in those days, so you know, yeah, you did think people might remember it for a couple of months and that'd be on to the next thing, right? So it was amazing for me to think that people will still remember it 27 or whatever it is years later now, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I never thought that. I just did the best I could at the time without really thinking any more about it than that.
Yeah. And on that note, like I mean, you've obviously had a very varied career from Goldeneye, Banjo Kazooie, Warcraft, Shadowlands. What was a project that you just adored to work on? Like what was your project that you loved to work on?
I've got to say, getting the Mario Rabbids games, the two Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hopes. I mean, if you'd have told me in 1995 I would end up writing an orchestral score for a Mario game, I'd say you're out of your mind. Like, to get to write for the most popular game character in the world, which he must be. I mean, for God's sake, how on earth did I pull that off? And I really don't know. It was just one of those crazy things that Davide Soliani and Romar Brio, the audio director and creative director Ubisoft, decided that I would be right for the gig, right? And so got hold of me and said, "Do you want to come to Paris and meet up, and we'll tell you about a game we've got we think you'd be good for?" It was just a unbelievable thing.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. I think, as a gamer, Mario, that's the pinnacle.
Yeah,
But then you've also carved your own way with your, projects like Banjo Kazooie. And then you've also recently, well, when I say recently, in the past decade, moved into cinema as well.
we've done a bit,
And
yeah.
yeah, and what was that like? Like, was that a hard transition to make, or is it's just the same thing, or have you found traction in that kind of
Yeah,
path?
I feel it's very similar. Like I've always wanted to do movies. I kind of moved to LA for that reason. I think that I guess my age, I still consider movies to be like an amazing thing, right? Some people, I know a lot of games guys don't want to do movies. They've got no interest in it at all. I feel I've got that double side because I'm just in the middle there. I think I like both a lot. So I guess I got to do the movie The King's Daughter with Pierce Brosnan and William Hurt and Kaya Scodelario. She's the female lead in The Maze Runner. And also that Netflix series, The Gentleman. I don't know if you've seen that. That's that British thing. It's a really
Ah,
great. The Guy
yeah,
Ritchie, that's her. That's her. She's in it. And like that was super cool to do. And I feel like I just feel like it's very similar. I think that good thing about movies is it's linear, right? So it didn't never changes. So you can write, you can make the music fit the action and take it down for the dialogue and all that stuff you can do in games. You can't do that because it's interactive, right? You don't know what people are going to do. So it's great to be able to write stuff like that, and get it exactly right for the action. So, and we won the World Soundtrack Award for the score, right, which was amazing. So that was, a great experience. So, and I think the movies, I like the movie. My kids, my wife and kids like it. So, and it's funny doing Pierce Brosnan after doing Pierce Brosnan and Goldeneye right at the gate, right? It was my full circle, there he was again. So,
so
um,
on that though, have you actually met Pierce Brosnan?
So we met him. Prior to doing Goldeneye, before I got to the company, they'd been taken down to see the Bond. So I've got a Bond museum at Pinewood or something, wherever they film it. Whatever studio, there's a big Bond museum there, and they all went around there before I worked there. And then we were doing towards the end of Goldeneye because I wanted us to do the next one. Is The World Is Not Enough, I think. Um,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, that with Elliot Carver. So yeah, so we went down again to meet, and we met him then. I met him then. I think the guys met him before the last time I went down for the second time, and so we had just a brief thing. He was filming that scene. He gets on a motorbike and he skids it along its like on its side under the
Uh,
helicopter with the
Tomorrow Never
Japanese lady.
Dies. It's
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, that
yeah.
one. And the Japanese or Chinese lady, I'm not sure what nationality she is. She was on the bike with him. Is
Michelle
that
Yeoh,
BMW
yep,
white? Yeah.
yep.
And it was that scene. They were filming that, so it's cool. You're watching them filming that, and in fact, it kind of broke the mystique a little bit because the helicopter is just a shell. It's just lowered in on a crane. There's no one in it. All the pilots and the rotors are put in CGI later. It just goes slow like that. He's on the bike on the side. It's on a trolley, and they just pull it all along on a rope while he's like that. And he gets something, throws the rope, and then jumps into the well at the end. And the well's about that deep, and just duck down. So it kind of breaks the mystique a little bit. But it looks great in the movie. But yeah, so
That's
we got to say hello and that. It was cool.
oh, that's it's yeah, funny hearing stories like that. It's like when Batman goes to disappear. It's like what really
Yeah,
happens behind the scenes.
yeah.
So on that, with your career, like what's a game or movie that you'd love to score? I mean, you've already got the Mario and Rabbids now, but what if you could pick any project? What would you pick?
I'd love to do Zelda. I really would. I mean, that'd be a hard one, right? Because the music's fantastic already. Who needs me to do anything like that? But I'd love to have a crack at Zelda, at least contribute to it somehow. That'd be amazing. I mean, it was good. It was also great to get a track in Super Smash Brothers when they put Banjo. That was an amazing thing for that. That was a really one of those lifetime things you remember forever. Like doing Mario, but getting into the Super Smash Brothers was amazing. And I think movie wise, I'm a massive Harry Potter fan, so to get to do Harry Potter would be amazing. But equally. how can you beat John Williams' score? The first three movies are done by John Williams, and they are just my absolute perfect scores. I just feel like, especially the first one, it's just the music's absolutely incredible. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I was working on Kingdoms of Amalur, Reckoning, I remember listening to those first three scores in my car every day, and I'm not lying, for 4 years. Like my wife was absolutely sick to the back teeth of hearing Harry Potter music because I listened to it over and over, and trying to get some of that John Williams magic. I'm not saying I did, but I tried. So I think that so to get to work on that would be unbelievable, but you'd have to use John Williams' theme. You cannot not use the Harry Potter theme. It's just not. Why would you? I mean, there's the HBO series is getting made now, right? They're making it, or they're looking for the actors now. Like the composer that does it, or whoever gets it, it'll be one of the big Hollywood guys, I'm sure. But they cannot do that without the John Williams theme. It's just not doable.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's iconic. I mean, it captures
yeah.
magic as
Ah,
well.
yeah. I
Yeah,
just wonder if some director goes, let's try something new. It's going to be, it's not going to work.
I
You
think the
can't,
fan base would
yeah,
revolt as well. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And now news has just broken in the past week or two that you've joined. Is it David Solani for Day for Night?
Davide Soliani.
Yeah, Davide Soliani for Day for Night Studios. And are you exclusively going to compose for them, or are you still
No, no,
going?
no, it's still a freelance contract position. Just that I'm, because me and Davide are great friends, and we did the Mario Rabbids games together, and most of all the team are from Ubisoft, the Mario Rabbids team, right? So it's just like the old gang back together. It's like me with ukulele, and the same situation as that, like Platonic. It's all my old friends, so I'm part of the team, but I'm still a freelance composer. So yeah, so that's super exciting. So that's just getting off the ground right now. I've seen what they've got for the game so far. I think it's a really cool idea. It's a real novel, cool idea. It's different to I think it's different to anything else. And I love Davide to death. We're great friends. So we really hit it off from the day one, really working on My Rabbids in like 2015, 2016, whatever it was. So, we have a good banter between us, and a lot, and up the team equally, like Christina Nava and Gianmarco and Luca, and all the guys like Hugo, all the guys there. They're a great bunch of people, and I think they're really great game makers. And I think that when they first started to make the Mario Rabbids games, people said about the first game they really felt the passion in the game. And that you can't manufacture that. You either feel it or you don't. And that team have got a real way about them. About everybody was in such awe about getting to touch Mario,
Yeah,
that we all just was too frightened to break it, if you know what I mean. So
yeah.
I feel like they're going to make a great game there, definitely.
I remember seeing Rabbids, and I thought it was such a bold move because Nintendo is very protective of their IPs,
Yeah,
and they somehow made Mario XCOM, and I love XCOM. So for me, it was just the best
yeah,
of both worlds. Incredible job. So you can
yeah.
definitely tell.
Yeah, it was such a like. There was quite a lot of leaks prior to the game coming out, and everyone was going, "Oh, what a ridiculous idea! Mario and the Rabbids is going to be dreadful." And like, unless you actually saw it and played it, you didn't know. It sounds like a daft idea. It really does. And it kind of depressed the team because prior to that E3, the lot of leaks and the art was getting out there, and people were going, "Oh, this is a." And but when it came to the actual E3 event, and as me and Davide sat there and right at the front, when Mr. Miyamoto came on and all that, like it was everybody just went, "Oh my God, this is brilliant!" It was so humbling and so gratifying for the team to go, at last everybody gets it. Like, and it was a real special occasion, that was.
Yeah.
And to see Mr. Miyamoto coming out with a gun, and Eve Guimauve, and together, like it was just fantastic. And Davide was crying, of course, because he's an Italian, so he cries at everything. So it was just a fantastic, whole that experience. That whole 8 years or so we did those games was brilliant.
Yep. This wasn't on the question list, but did you end up patching things up with Miyamoto?
I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately. So,
Oh,
funny enough, we're at the E3 with the Ubisoft booth, and everyone disappeared. I was like, "Where's everyone gone?" They're all meeting with me and Miyamoto. I said, "Well, why did you tell me he was there?" No one told me, so I missed him.
I,
But no,
was that intentional? Maybe.
I have met him since the event, so
Yeah.
not since then, no.
Okay. And I guess my final question is for the people watching who want to get into even just being a composer or video games, what's your advice when it comes to just starting that career?
I feel like I've got a few things that I would say about this. It's really hard. If you want to do it, don't take it lightly. You have to devote your entire existence to it, right? Without a doubt. Like being a great composer is only 50% of the battle. 50% of the other half is the networking part, getting to know people, getting to that's the heart, that's the bit that's super important. It's easy as important as being good. Like writing great music and putting it on YouTube somewhere or a website somewhere, no one's going to find it. You could be the best composer in the world. You could be the next John Williams, but if no one's going to find it, right? Because everybody does that. Like, you might be lucky, but it's unlikely. You need to get yourself into that space where people are doing the thing that you want to do. If that's game jams or going to cons or whatever it is, to meet other people in the industry, whoever it is, because even that inconsequential meeting that you had 2 years ago can turn into something later. I've had plenty of times I met somebody, got along fine, but and 3 years later they remembered me. Let's get in for the music. Like it's amazing that things like that happen. I think you've got, and also I feel say you do get the chance. Don't argue with the creative director, producer. It's a waste of time. They're just going to fire you and find somebody else. Like it's no point you saying to them, "You write a piece of music, we don't like it. Can you do it again?" It's no you saying to them, "But the chord seems is great. Just the melody, it's great. You don't understand. I'm a composer. You're not clever enough to understand it. It's going to fire you, right? It's a waste of time doing that. Don't do that. Just go, yeah, I'll change it. Just say yes to absolutely everything. Even if you've got no idea what they're talking about, just say yes and go and Google it later and find out. Because it's better to get a chance and fail than to not have a chance at all, right? So, equally, I said, also don't look at the mountain. Someone says to you, we need 2.5 hours of music. Don't go, how am I going to write 2.5 hours of music? There's no way. Just write the next note and the next chord and chip away. And before you know it, you're going to be halfway there, right? But looking at that, it's going to put you completely off. So you got to and get out there. And I feel like composers, because we work by ourselves for hours a day, you just sit by yourself in a room writing music, don't talk to anybody. We're not particularly sociable people, not most of the time. So you have to get used to getting out there somehow to whatever that is and meet people. Even if you hate it, you got to learn to put that pretend personality on that isn't really you. That that you can jolly along and have a bit of a laugh. They don't want to work with introverts because it's hard. They want to work with people they can talk to, have a laugh with, and not worry about it. If some introvert guy doesn't want to speak, it's too hard to deal with it. And there's a million people stood behind you wanting your job, right? So waiting for you to mess up so they can get a crack at it. So all those things is important. So you've got to. I'd say meeting people is super. Like I've got a friend of mine called Danny Baranowski, who's a great friend of mine. He's a great composer. He was just a guy working in Lowe's and Home Depot, like pumping stuff about, and he wanted to be a video game composer, and he covered one of my Perfect Dark tunes and got it on OC Remix, the website. And then the guy that made a game called Cannibal heard it, liked it, and asked him to say, "Do you want to write music for my game?" Danny did that, and then he got Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac and Crypto the Necrodancer. So Danny's a very one. Equally, Daniel Rosenfeld, who's C418, who does the Minecraft music. He was just a young German kid, 18, in a chat room and not just looking for a composer. And said, anybody here compose? I do it. Got the gig. Daniel's probably the most well-known composer in video games in the world, But it's just, you've got to have the ability. So when you get the chance, you can do it. That's a given, right? Because you've got to be great. Everyone's got to be great. There's no way around it, right? But the other half of it, the kind of networking thing and a good degree of luck half the time is, and I know plenty of composers here who aren't great, who got a lot of work because they know everybody. I know a ton of guys who are brilliant, don't get any work because they don't know anybody. So, I've been there for 30 years. I still find it hard. So it's not easy. So you're in for a shock. That's what I'll say.
It's going to be an eye-opener.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it having a chat. I could probably talk your ear off all day about even just the N64 period of your career, but I know you probably got better things to do, but we'll leave it there. And thank you again.
No, thanks for asking me.
Thank you. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way that you can support What's It Like is by liking and subscribing. And for the month of November, I'm donating all my channel earnings to my good friend Archie's Movember campaign. So if you've just watched this video, you're already doing your part.